So yeah, yeah. I mean, it's right now it's kind of challenging. There's like I've dug some more stuff up, but the so like emotional stuff like fear or restlessness or like stuff like this. But the so 2 weeks ago or something, we chatted, we wrote on Skype, and you said like I said I'm gonna dig myself out of it, and you said no need for digging, just take a little sidestep. um,
The point is, there's a, how do I say it? There's a Chinese proverb that says the longest journey starts with but a
yeah.
single step.
Hmm.
Well, guess what? After you take that step, then that's the story. Now your journey is yet but starting with one more step. And in that step, that what we're talking about is the sati. Take a step in the sense of wake up, see what's going on. It's not going to be easy because it's old ground in. I remember the last time we talked, you were on top of the world, and
Yeah,
now you're almost tongue tied.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's. I mean, I really get to see like what you just said, basically that the mind is really quick to jump to like the to make a big story out of it. So again and and like wanting things to have the mind wants to figure things out forever and not just for this little moment, right? And and that's what makes it seem so big of an issue, everything that comes up. But actually, if you step and step and step inside it, then it isn't that big of an issue actually.
Yeah, we learn to enjoy the next step. In that regard, it's a whole lot more delicious to pay attention to the trees rather than have thoughts about being in a forest.
Yeah,
Now that was original. I hadn't thought of that before, but it seems to fit. Because when we do take our illusion about what's going on around us, we draw back, and therefore we create a forest around us that's only in our imagination. We really don't know what the next trees are going to bring.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I sometimes um I sometimes take notes what I want to talk with you when I call. So and this time I like um I felt like um the one note I took was trust and scared to let go, which means like some yeah, feeling of story dropping away, like that I telling myself, and this feels kind of scary, because then there's just no story anymore to hold on to.
Hmm.
But this morning
The question
I
is
yeah.
how after you actually let go and then have this sinking falling feeling, how long can you actually get it to last?
The falling feeling or the
The sinking falling feeling, everybody gets terrified because they
yeah.
think it's not going to last and it's going to be over and we're going to crash land. And so we don't enjoy the trip down because we don't know how long it's going to be. Nobody knows anything about the future.
Yeah.
But I understand what you're talking about exactly. The letting go of the self is quite remarkable. and that the best that a teacher can do is prepare the student so that when they begin to see Paticca Samuppada and begin to see the way the mind works, we actually begin to understand that, wait a minute, what I thought I was, I am not there. Uh-oh.
Yeah, and they're really the like recognizing the victim's position and taking like a step sideways is really important for that, I think. Because otherwise you could really like blow that out of proportion and think, oh God, I'm gonna lose my mind or something.
Exactly. I can understand where people would do that because they take it way too seriously. That it is possible for some people to go into a state of despair, just like they do in Christianity when they figure out there's no God going to get me out of this hole, and so they go into a deeper despair, or the hole gets deeper. Well, the Buddhists can do that too when they recognize, hey, wait a minute, if there's no self, who's going to get me out of this hole? But don't you see the contradiction in that? If there is no self, then who wants out of the hole? What's wrong with the hole?
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, I mean, I've been through the cycle a few times now, so it's not like I'm too concerned. But I mean, I have to. Yeah, I mean, who does the sati? But the sati comes, and then I see that I can just take a step, and then it's all good again.
Exactly so. Now, here's one of the ways of kind of looking at it. That within Buddhism, because the original translations in English, and therefore ever since then, the word anatta has been translated as no self or not self, or things in that realm. But in fact, if you look back at the Pali word, the Pali anatta, the atta is the same as the exact same word that you find in Mahatma. Atta, Mahatma is in fact the same word. And what does, for instance, Mahatma Gandhi, what does Mahatma mean? Do you know?
I don't know.
It means great soul. That the Atman is in fact a soul, and the way that it's used as in the sense of a core. So when physics found out and understood enough chemistry and physics together that there were atoms, they called it an atom in respect to what they thought was atomic. But now that we understand that atoms can be split into subatomic particles, that actually destroys the reason or rationale that chose the word atom in the first place.
Gotta rewrite all the books.
They need to rewrite all the books and in fact rename it like this, that the actual atoms now they find out are the quarks. Stop using the word quark and start calling those atoms. And then for the atoms, those things really don't exist. They only exist in the mind of the scientists. Call them the quarks. And let's see where physics goes from there. But anyway, you can see that about the labels. The whole issue then is that things are just kind of random, and we don't quite have a handle on what's going on anyway. So why should we care so much, especially in the sense of the question of who is it that cares anyway? By looking at that, who cares anyway, we begin to back that up. Oh, it's simply just based on the feeling of liking and not liking. And it's really easy to see that in the chemistry of liking and not liking, there's no really self there. But it sure is painful if you don't watch out for it. And that watching out then is the destruction of ignorance. This is the second noble truth.
Yeah.
So back to Adam. The atom is also used in the sense of Adam and Eve, and that Adam is the first man or the core of humanity, and that his name will always be kept alive in respect to that he's the start of humanity. Whether that story is true or not is irrelevant. It's mythology anyway, and it's part of it, and that's that part of that name that we're talking about that is used in there. And the Buddha says, no, there is not that. Now, the way that we would translate that into English is not into the word self. We would translate it in that into the word soul, the way that we use that. Like soul proprietorship in the vernacular, or soul in the sense that something that's so strong within each individual that it can survive death. And it's also complex enough to distinguish one dead soul from another dead soul, because actions and past actions are involved. They may need to be recorded upon this magical soul somehow also. And when you start looking at it from physics-wise, you begin to see the Buddha was right. There is no soul. And when we take it from that approach, we really then don't have to understand that, oh, what they're talking about is there's no real core in there. That what I am, that I call myself that I am, is actually just a process. Yeah. But there's no core me in there anywhere that could possibly survive death.
There's no little driver.
There's no little driver in there. There's no ghost in the machine. Exactly. The machine itself spits all of that data out. It does not need a ghost in there pedaling like a rat on a treadmill. And sometimes that's really hard for some people to grasp onto. And so that those people are then very gullible to believing in rebirth, reincarnation, I'll continue on, but basically because and everybody in fact is afraid of death. It's just some of us will look at it.
Yeah, I also think that you can get the notion of no self quite wrong if you look at it from a I don't exist perspective or some metaphysical.
Exactly. It's all very real. So let's take the next real connection. When we go looking for self, what we eventually wind up doing is looking into the face of the void, or another way of saying it is looking into the face of death. When we recognize that we're actually going to die.
Yeah.
And that we got to kind of get over that.
Yeah.
Because then we can be happy. Now that you know, now you know. And so we begin to put up with it. And eventually, if we're careful, we begin to put up with it delightfully so that we can make jokes about it. Oh, I got to watch now. 7 more days to go. Countdown.
Yeah, I mean, what's really interesting for me, there's also quite a lot of Western psychology theory about how lots of stuff we do are actually just mechanisms to cope with that we're gonna die. And money and everything and things that you can get.
In that regard, everyone is looking for safety.
Yeah.
They want to feel safe. They want to feel secure. They don't want to look at death. They don't want to intentionally go to the morgue at the hospital just to check out dead bodies. They don't like to do that. They don't like to go take a pup tent and go spend the night in the cemetery.
Yeah.
Even on a dare or a bet. And feel really creepy. I know I've been there, done that. there's something magical about doing a whole lot of funerals.
Mm.
When you see a whole lot of dead Asians going on,
You
most of
did
them dying.
you did
Pardon?
it as a monk, right?
Yes, yes. Went to a lot of funerals. And that really helped. That was part of the process of really giving up on fear of death and whatnot. And I began to really understand it. Oh, that's right. It's going to happen.
Mm.
It's a whole lot better to plan correctly and beautifully for it so that when you go out with not a, quite a happy whimper. But most people are afraid of death, and so we tell ourselves all kinds of stories about the perpetuation of it.
Mm.
Like Christianity is all based upon what happens after death.
Yeah, with
And
the
they
soul that
really
like. Mm.
get into arguments with the atheist because the point that they keep arguing is the wrong point. They keep arguing about, is there a God or not? And really, that's an irrelevant argument. The real argument that everybody, the elephant in fact in the room, is the question, am I going to survive death?
Yeah.
And God himself is irrelevant to that question. The first thing is, am I going to survive this? Or not? And it's
Yeah.
funny that even many people who call themselves atheists still have a lot of magical beliefs.
Mm. Yeah, I mean it's just like you grow up with them kind of right in the Western or in probably most of societies in the world. You grow up with some kind of belief that there's some soul or something.
Okay, and unless a child is kind of in a unique situation or two, then that stuff that's poured onto him at the age of 3, 4, and 5 as he's being raised in a community or a religion of some kind, that stuff seeps in way down into the reptilian part of his brain because the rest of it's not developed enough to say, this is horse shit.
Mm.
And so, unfortunately, those kids grow up almost glued into place that they cannot accept anything other than basically what they were taught before they could think straight. So, next thing that happens is they finally call us on Skype. And then they recognize, oh, I know that stuff is deeply buried. But I'm going to be on guard, so every time it raises its head, I'm going to play whack-a-mole with it. I'm not going to let it come up and bother me. Because it really doesn't matter whether I exist or not. The thing really that matters is, am I going to keep pestering myself about it or not? In that regard, you could almost see that this is also the step, this eradication of doubt. When we finally give up doubt about what is the path and what is not the path, and say, okay, Buddha, you're right. There is nothing in here worth salvaging.
Yeah. So what I'm sometimes wondering is like, do you think the place in this development is so? Is there a place for psychotherapy in your opinion, or what's the role
Yes, there is.
giving
This is
intervention
exactly
and
what
other?
we're talking about, to therapize on yourself. You could do just as good of an inspection, in fact, even a better inspection than any therapist can. It's really hard to see what's going on when you're outside, but when you're in there, now you can really pay attention. And if you're careful, you'll see exactly what to throw out and when.
Mm.
And the Buddha's already got some advice on that point, is that the when is whenever you see it, and what to throw out is stuff that's bothersome. Things that are hindrances, things from the past, things that are from the future, things that make you restless and worried.
Mm.
Things that make you desire and want things, like to fix problems that you just worried about. And so the next thing is to get the mind in the shape of having wholesome thoughts. And so one's right effort is, in a way, is to be on guard to make sure that only wholesome thoughts get into the mind, and that the unwholesome thoughts are kept at bay until they eventually wither and die.
Yeah. But
so you don't entertain them. As soon as you catch them, you throw them out. And you say, I can throw them out.
yeah.
These things cannot keep bothering me. I will not let them. And in that way, we no longer are a victim to those thoughts and feelings.
When you say feelings, you talking about like emotions or like good, bad?
Yes.
Emotions, okay.
Yes. And the emotions that I'm speaking of here would be something like anxiety or anger or fear or longing for the past.
Yeah, but
reminiscing about somebody who's dead. Okay, longing for the past would be an emotion in that regard.
Yeah. I mean, I can really see that with. So I'm totally doing that with stuff that's coming up, like in the moment, but like in a period like I'm in, where there's like lots of old stuff, like lots of old feelings coming up. It doesn't work like just to throw them out there. They just stay there. So what I do right now is just I make that move out of the victim's position.
Yes.
And I'm being with it, because there's really no point in like trying to get them out. It feels like they just have to be there for a few days and then.
No, they don't. You keep dragging those things and pushing them toward the door, they'll leave. They have to. So every time the thought comes right back again, you throw it right back out again. And then it comes right back again, and then you throw it right back out again. So no, I'm not going to feel that way. No, I'm not going to think those thoughts. No, I'm not going to worry about the future.
So you say it only feels like they are continuous. They're actually just coming up and coming up and coming up.
Yeah, even those kind of things are not nearly as permanent. There was always that intermission. Every time you saw it, you were interrupting it. Fact is not only are you interrupting it, you really got to interrupt it in a strong way. And that's when we talk about it in that sense of, aha, I've got you. But now what we're doing is we've changed it from the mere wandering of the hindrances and come back to the breath. Now we're actually doing anapanasati for real. This is not the practice session. This is the real dude. Yeah, this is the real stuff. We got to get rid of that stuff whenever that stuff comes up. We got to keep coming back and coming back. And in this case, coming back to the state of the wind, coming back into the state of the lion and the lion's roar. Coming back to the state of, you are not stronger than I am.
Yeah, and it's also like,
this is my brain, not yours. You're just a thought. Get out.
Yeah, and also like it almost feels a little bit like I get better every time, because sometimes there are new bad feelings coming up that I like hadn't seen in a few years, and it almost feels like I need a little bit to like get to know them a little bit, and then I get better and better at dodging them and like throwing them out.
Yes, but as you're getting to know them a little better and better, what you're seeing is dukkha, dukkha, dukkha more and more. And I don't want you. You look like a nice memory at one moment, but now you begin to stinky.
Yeah.
In all of those years, you haven't had a bath.
Yeah, for me, it's not really like memories. It's more like just bodily sensations. So
exactly, precisely. That's where we feel emotions.
Yeah. But
they move us in the body. They drive us. And when you begin to see those things directly, we can say, aha, you're not going to take charge of this. Down, and another way you can do it is in kind of a loving way, like a dog that just won't shut up. Down, boy. Down, boy. Down, boy. Okay, be quiet.
Yeah, to me that's really skillful, I think, to frame it that way, because I tend to be like a little bit of suppressive to them, and if I frame it like a dog or a little child, then it's much easier to like be playful and not like hit it too hard.
Exactly. Don't be hard on yourself. This is all natural stuff. This stuff kept you alive for all of those years.
Yeah.
Don't be angry and wanting to hurt it. Just don't let it have any control anymore. That we're going to use the frontal cortex. We're not going to use that old stored memory base to run our lives anymore. But it takes practice and practice and practice and practice. And it takes a whole lot of deep breathing and deep air to get that, what I refer to sometimes as the monster computer, the major mainframe that most humans carry around while they do all their processing on a laptop.
Yeah.
And all we have to do is turn that mainframe on, and then the witness. This is another way of looking at it. Motions and feeling and the body and all of that comes out of the reptilian brain. And then language comes out of the middle section that's normally referred to as the middle section, is the mammalian brain, or we could also call it the monkey brain, where monkeys have big societies and cooperate with each other and fight with that group and all of the kind of things that humans still do using that part of the brain.
They just like think about reasons to do that, but basically they're still like acting the same way.
Exactly. But the frontal cortex is the one that takes the most work. It takes the most oxygen. But this is the part of the human brain that makes us human. This is part of the brain that makes us capable of both seeing the dots and then connecting the dots so that we can get wisdom. We can begin to see things. This is our insight. Insight needs to be done directly from the frontal cortex. This is the kind of stuff that animals can't do. Dogs can run across the dead body of another dog, but it does not really occur to them and imprint them that you're going to be just like this and it's going to happen sooner than you want. But humans begin to understand that. But then when they do, the fear from the reptilian brain part comes up. Oh my goodness, don't do this. And so we have these conflicts within the mind. And oftentimes that conflict is kind of won out by the reptilian brain that's afraid of death. And every human carries all of these pieces in there. And while this fight is going on, it's the middle part of the brain that keeps a running dialogue of it. So basically the question is, are you going to be the you that you grew up to be, or are you going to be the you that is the one who can actually think and really think and think wisely and see clearly and recognize, for instance, that those feelings that come up are really inappropriate. They're from the past. We don't need to feel that way right now.
Yeah, I can really see that happening. It's yeah. I mean, it's challenging sometimes, but it's also really, really interesting to like, yeah, to see it work.
The mind is a terrible thing to waste, but I don't know anybody who doesn't. Some would say it's a waste of time, but others would say, no, it's just a waste of mind. By the way, I sent to you A video, a Bhikkhu Did you see that?
No,
Not a video, but
the text.
Lion's Roar
Yeah,
write
yeah,
up
yeah.
of him.
I saw that. I think I also read there's a short yeah, kind of the middle length text on the internet from him about this, about dependent origination. This one I read some while ago. I think this is like kind of the same topic. So, but I will read it later.
We're talking directly. We've been talking about the details of Paticca Samuppada all this time, and in fact, we've also been talking about it directly as step number uh, 5, 6, 7, and 8 of Anapanasati, of understanding these mental sankharas, Sita Sankara. But in this case, the word Sita would translate more to Jaya in Thai than it would be Mana. And what that means, emotional mind, not the intellectual mind. That in fact it means both. And so first we start to guard the thoughts. And after we begin to guard the thoughts and get very good at that, so there's not let any unwholesome feeling or any unwholesome thoughts come in, then we begin, like what you're doing now, is to get to the point of now you're experiencing the feelings directly. And that most people feel those things, but they're only semi-aware of them, and so they live their lives in ignorance to where you're getting slapped right around with them. And I say, wow, that's really great. You're making great progress.
Yeah.
And you can almost get to the point of just screaming, Dukkha, Dukkha, Dukkha.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, really interesting to see that. So I mean, right now, like after the last retreat, a few weeks, month, I think 2 months ago, it was like I can really see. It really feels like a next step in that I can like watch this stuff in daily life instead of just on a cushion, because like I can remember like 1 or 2 years ago. That was on the cushion that I really began to have some really unpleasant feelings coming up, and now on the cushion it's most of the time pretty blissful. Not always, but most of the time. Now I get the stuff in real time.
Yep. So now that you're out of middle school, this is time for high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was playing whack-a-mole out there when those moles have all kinds of sources. Well, that's really great. I'm really pleased with your progress, and I'm glad that you're seeing that this stuff is there. And all you have to do is just remember over and over again to come back and say, no, those kind of thoughts are not allowed. I'd rather be happy right now instead. Thank you very much. And there can be any kind of thoughts like that. One guy was talking about that he's just recently moved and now he's longing for the people that he knew in the old house that he lived in, or community. And so, wow, did we have a long time talking about it in this respect. There is a sutra that says that it is grief that comes from those who are dear, in the sense that you're probably going to lose everything. So whatever is dear to you, you're going to feel bad the most when you lose it. So imagine how bad you're going to feel when you die, or you know that's going to happen right now. Quick. How do you feel? Panicked? Or, wow, thanks, come on, get me, buddy. Time is time. Let me take one last breath. This will be a doozy.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting to hear accounts of people who almost died. Sometimes they say that was the best thing that happened to them, or cancer survivors or something, right? They really they say they living for real the first time.
Exactly. That's right. When people confront the fact that they are going to die, but then they don't, that's a big revelation.
Yeah.
Sometimes people get those things from drugs. And sometimes they actually kill themselves or hurt themselves because too much is available through that drug spring than they were ready for. But the point, though, is that in your case, here you are hacking away at it, and big chunks are beginning to fall off. And so you keep at it. You keep hammering away at it. You keep a vigil, or be on guard. But the right point or idea is to get yourself in a really good, pleasant state. Because you know how to do that, sitting. So begin to get into that kind of state anytime that you can think of it. And once you get into that state, now you can have that catbird seat or that really pleasant place to be, so you can actually now have the mind fit for work. And now you can guard the mind to not let unwholesome things in. And then you can guard the mind, that part of it that leaks chemicals and does nasty shit. You can guard against that dude too. Fears, anxieties, worries. Well, worries would be almost the result of, in the sense of the spinning of the mind associated with anxiety. In the sutras, they call it restlessness, but if you think about what restlessness actually means, and you think about what, same thing.
Yeah.
And so when that stuff comes up, be on guard for it, recognize it, and then take a deep breath and say, out you go. I don't want to take much time being anxious.
And then is that then, so in my experience, it feels like if there is some emotion from the past coming up and I have enough momentum, enough sati going, and this happens enough times that I really can look it in the eye and then say, okay, no.
So long as you're dedicated to sati, your sati will come up more often than it does.
And it feels like this actually does resolve it in the long run. Like, it feels like it just runs out of steam, that part from the past.
Exactly.
So the point of sitting practice is to like recharge this.
Recharge this, we can call it like that. Recharge the sukha machine.
Yeah. So that
the Pali word sukha.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you go get some sukha. Go recharge. Get some. Oh, this is so nice.
Yeah.
Because in that state, that's when you can really say, oh, I like this so much, I don't want to get out of it. I want to stay here. Therefore, any anxiety that comes, I'm going to push it away.
Yeah, and also it feels like if I have recharged this, then I can just like bring a little bit of it when I need it, when there's like something I have to sidestep. Then I can
yes.
I can get a little bit of it, and then it's like not that big of a deal.
That's exactly right. You can find a way of juicing yourself up, brightening your mind. Easy enough to do. You know that. You've been practicing it now all of this time. Gladdening the mind. Get it brighter. Get it. Make it fit for work.
Yeah.
That way it'll see what's going on. Take a few deep breaths and take a look at this stuff.
Great. I can do that.
Yes, I know you can. You have been doing it for quite a while now. But here's the thing, that it seems to come off in layers.
Yeah.
So the first retreat, students will begin to wonder about things that just happened before the retreat started. on the first couple of days, and then at the end of the retreat, they're all doing the planning of what they're doing after they get out of the retreat.
Mhm.
All right, but then we go from what happened yesterday to what happened last year, and then we go back 10 years or so. Well, now you're down to the teenage stuff.
Yeah.
That's coming up.
That's really what it feels like, because I also have like dreams of that time, like the last few weeks. And it's also interesting because like every retreat, the tension like moves a little bit up in my belly. So it's really tangible that it like comes off in layers for me.
That's right. Now, here's something that if you might want to play with, and that is, can you play with that? Can you manipulate it? Can you move it around? Can you bounce it like a ball?
The tension, or what do you mean?
Yes, whatever it is that you find in the body that's moving around, you saw it moving. So whatever we call it, we're talking about that which you just mentioned. So now see if you can manipulate it. See if you can play with it. Say hello to it.
Yeah.
At least make friends with it before you kill it.
Yeah, that's my main tactic, to like make friends with it. That seems to work. Yeah.
It's a long slog, but it's not a tough slog.
Mm-hmm.
Just keep plugging at it and plugging at it and plugging at it. In fact, you know it works. Yeah. That's what gives us dedication, is the past successes that we built upon, and we know where we're going.
Yeah, I mean, if I didn't have like a few successes down the road, probably I would think right now like, man, this is too hard, but right now I'm pretty sure that.
But you do recognize that you call it hard because you don't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're making it hard, and I'm inviting you to do just the opposite. No, learn to play with this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, but the automatic response when it comes up, it's first like this sucks.
Do not like it.
Yeah. Then I see, okay, that's not liking, and then.
All right. So now that comes up, we do the Eightfold Noble Path kind of stuff again. We know that this is suffering. So that's the right view. Then we just saw it. We just woke up to it. We've already got right sati. And so now we need to gladden the mind and do some right effort. And this is the point now that we're actually performing right effort in order to make friends with it and see if we can move it around. Do we have any control at all? The answer is absolutely. All you have to do is pay attention to it and then start feeling around, and you'll see what's going on. Mm-hmm. And in that regard, then now you are adding right attitude. Right noble attitude is, hey, wait a minute. I'm the one in charge here. I am not a victim to my feelings from the past.
Yeah.
That I no longer will live with that karma machine. I will no longer live according to being reborn, according to the way that karma machine has been spinning the mind. We're not going to do it like that. We're going to stop that kind of action.
Enough is enough, right?
Enough is enough already. That's what the Buddha means by the karma that ends all karma. The action that ends the action is, the determination is, oh no, stop. Halt. Out you go. And you keep saying that over and over again, and every time you say it and know what you're doing, that'll actually happen.
Yeah.
And if you start watching, it may happen as many as 10 times a second for a while. And then that's when we get bored and we say, oh, this is hard work. Never mind. Start again. Keep going.
Yeah.
You will champion that stuff.
Yeah,
so I really like that you've gotten this far. And never mind that you've gotten yourself depressed again. That's the whole point, is that you're saying, wait a minute, there's just still all this dukkha.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now you know, oh no, you can get out of this. No trouble. In fact, I see you've already decided that's going to happen, that you're not going to let this stuff keep taking you down.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for the reminder.
Well, let us hope that this tape does some others good. To keep remembering that, let's keep doing this and do it with joy and wisdom, and eventually we'll take over completely. But until then, let's enjoy the uprooting. Let's enjoy watching that stuff.
Yeah.
Because what's our choice?
Yeah.
Hate it?
Right.
That's what we've been doing.
Yeah.
Ignore it? That's what we used to do.
Doesn't work. Yeah.
Well, this has been a great talk. I'm glad to see you again. I'm really pleased to hear that you're progressing. That's great. This is the job to do.
Yep. Perfect.
Yeah, go ahead.
I really enjoy I watch now and then. I watch some videos of the channel. I really enjoy, like, also listening to others, like, their questions. It's really helping. I think it's really cool.
Yes, let us hope so.
Yeah.
Oh, on that regard, Danny has started a subreddit called Super Mundane Dhamma.
Okay.
And we're inviting people who call in to actually join. And right now he may have still that you have to request permission, but he'll give you that pretty soon. But right now we're decided that we're going to take that off so that everybody that we talk about it now can go ahead and join and start posting. And so what we're going to do there, among other things, is get organized a bit.
That's great.
And that one of the things that I'm looking at is the fact that that not only do I not charge money, that I don't even ask for donations. But when students do ask, I say, oh, well, we'll wait. And then we'll find something to do. So the dana here is in the form of karma. And you have already been working with Danny a bit, but one of our old friends, Noah, has suggested that what we need to do is to start to catalog in this following way, that when someone is watching a video, when a new topic is changed, that they can record that time from the end of the old topic, because you know that I move around. I stay on a topic about 10 minutes, and then we move right around because we're taking a look at various things. Okay, so we need to start collecting parts of the video to take some of that stuff out, including the dead space and the too long belly laughs and the the kisses from mommy and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so the editing. And so when you're listening to others' videos, please start recording the mark points that a video editor would be interested in. Because there's actually two different jobs. A video editor would really nice to know what it is that he needs to edit next. And this is exactly what we're doing. And so it makes it really easy because all you're doing is just recording or writing down as you're listening. And not only that, to do that actually requires people to pay just a little closer attention than they.
I think that's a great idea for all parties involved, because I really, so I did this already for, like, I think 2 videos, and this really, you pay more attention if you know you have to, like, keep track of topics automatically. And so that really helps. And I also thought that, like, I thought the last time I looked at one video, I also thought that we should, like, maybe do some playlists of videos for certain topics or something? Like it's the same.
Yes, right
same
now all the playlists are according to the student themselves, and instead of topical playlist. So that's exactly what we're talking about, except instead of putting it topical in a playlist, we'll actually make it a collage in one video.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah, and I also thought like maybe, taking a few videos that would be a good introduction and putting them together as a little like 4 or 5 videos or something as a starting point, because right now there's like lots of great videos, but they are like they dive in all different topics. So if we like would maybe do like just watch out for some good introductory videos.
Well, I'm thinking right now, I'm back to, wait a minute, we're only talking Dhamma. There's only one subject. All 200 and something videos, just all Dhamma all the time. But never mind, I understand what you're talking about. It would be easier to cut it up and make a meal out of it rather than just bring home a dead animal the way that they are set up now. They would just fresh kill and post it.
Yeah. So yeah, I will look out for that, and I would love to help with that.
Great. Okay, well, let's coordinate and work with that on the new Reddit sublist. And the new sublist is called Supra Mundane Dhamma. So take a look on that, and please join, because this will be the group where we're doing things like editing videos.
Okay.
And we'll think of something else to do that's fun and useful to the world.
Yeah, so okay, I already found it.
All right, great.
Perfect. Cool.
Well, that's good. That's great. Do you have any last questions before we go someplace? Do something.
No. I think I'm good for now.
Excellent, Vernon. Really good to see you again. Happy to see you. Happy to see that you're really making good progress. That's great.
Perfect. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for